I'm an artist known as Crom, and the illustrator for a comic book called Birdkin, and that's about it really. I'm also the author of a book called Raiders that came out in France a few years ago. It felt like a natural kind of process when I was a little kid. So I always had a pen in my hand and I was always drawing, so I started reading you know, those kind of Disney comics, you know, the little ones for little kids, and it just felt natural to copy them and try and make comics, and it feels like a very intuitive medium to tell stories, and it doesn't require a lot. You know, if you make films you need a lot of money, and people with comics you can just sit in your room with a few pieces of paper and a pen and you can tell any story you want. So yeah. So on the surface is mostly about a blacksmith girl who's in her teen years, and she meets a wraith, kind of a fallen king spirit that kind of kicks off a whole adventure for her in this kind of realm of dark forces that are fighting against each other, and she's kind of caught in the middle. We follow her story through it, and you know, it's quite exciting to follow it, even if I say so myself. And underneath it all, it's a story about finding yourself, about growing up, and about being true to who you are as you change through the years. So, you know, every morning I sit in my studio and I do a kind of half an hour session of sketching, which usually ends up in a lot of skulls and a lot of characters with a bunch of pockets and swords. And Birdkin happened to be one of those. I did a quick sketch of Birdkin a long time ago when I was in a work meeting in one of the old jobs I used to have. And then I developed it slowly until I had Birdkin. I made a poster of him without having a story behind it. And that kind of started a whole thing where people buy the poster without knowing what it is, and they kept on asking me if there is a story behind this character, and I just kind of panic a little bit because there is nothing to it. It's just a cool character. So after that I started writing a story slowly, which I developed slowly in Patreon, and with the support of a lot of my patrons I kind of worked a few pages, and that's when I kind of called in the help of Daniel, the writer of Raiders, to help me kind of put the story together properly, and that's kind of how it came about. Yeah, I say this a lot. Daniel and I, we call it the double Miyazakis. So the two Miyazakis are kind of the foundations of how we shape Birdkin, you know, Dark Souls and Studio Ghibli. So imagine a Studio Ghibli in a world of Dark Souls, and that's kind of the mood and the vibe that we want to do. We want it to look friendly and approachable, but also it can get very, very dark. So, you know, Daniel writes a script, we have a few discussions about it, we go over a few scenes, a few pages, and once we have kind of settled on what the story is going to be, I produce a bunch of thumbnails for every page. I make drafts of those on paper, and depending on how much time I have, I will kind of scan them and digitalize them, or otherwise I'll just ink them traditionally. And you know, it's a long, arduous process, but I enjoy it. So yeah, and then I color it all in Clip Studio on my iPad. I think it really helps me. I think that's how I started. A lot of times as an artist, you spend a lot of time in your studio working for hours without really knowing if anyone is kind of looking at your work, and having people there who are constantly reminding you that you're not just producing this for yourself, but they're waiting for your work, that is quite encouraging, especially when, you know, there are days where you're not feeling great about it, and if you have all of these very supportive people there telling you that they actually find your work interesting, that's a great help. Yeah. Not at the moment. I think my main focus is on Birdkin right now. I'm in discussions with Meteorolon to create a story with them for one of their issues, and then I've got a few other things, but they're kind of on the slow burner at the moment, kind of waiting for me to finish volume 4 of Birdkin, kind of close this chapter of my life properly, and you know, with all the attention and love that it deserves. I don't think so. It felt more like a natural transition. The reason why I started tattooing was because people kept on tattooing my work. with other tattoo artists, and which is fine at the time, which was fine at the time, but slowly the work deteriorates itself. People take liberties with the creativity on the pieces, and I wasn't too crazy about it. So I wanted to gain ownership of my own work, and becoming a tattooist, it meant that I could tell people, why don't you wait until you meet me and then I'll tattoo it myself the way it was meant. Exactly. If you really want a piece of my work tattooed on you, you come to me, and it will feel a lot more special than just taking it to a random tattooist who's not going to care as much about the design itself. It's between either Taiyo Matsumoto or GP from Italy. I think these are two artists that I've always kind of admired, and I've studied their line work for years, and to this day I still don't really know how they do it and how they get to the pieces they produce. So I would love to just even sit down with them for like a few minutes and discuss their work. I'm a fanboy at heart, so I would get really excited. So yeah, those two for sure.